How long are you going to keep calling survival a life? How long are you going to wake up tired, work just enough, dream big, and then do nothing about it? Let me tell you something straight. You were not born to barely make it. You were not put on this earth to scrape by, to count pennies, to live for weekends, to pray that next month is easier. That's not living. That's surviving. And survival is for emergencies, not for your entire life. Right now, most people are trapped, not by money, not by the system, not by other people. They're trapped by their standards. They accept average days, average bodies, average bank accounts, average thoughts, and then they wonder why life feels heavy. You don't rise to what you want. You fall to what you tolerate. Winning starts when you decide you're done being comfortable. Comfort is dangerous. Comfort tells you to sleep in. Comfort tells you to delay. Comfort tells you tomorrow is fine, and tomorrow turns into years. Books like Atomic Habits make it clear tiny actions repeated daily shape your destiny. But only if you actually do them. You say you want success, but your actions say you want ease. You say you want freedom, but your habits say you want distraction. Look at your day. Look at how you eat, how you train, how you work, how you think. That is your future, playing on repeat. Here's the hard truth most people avoid. Nobody is coming to save you. No mentor, no miracle, no perfect moment. That sounds harsh, but it's actually powerful. Because the moment you accept full responsibility, you gain full control. As the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People teaches, responsibility is the foundation of effectiveness. Blame makes you weak. Ownership makes you dangerous. Winning requires pressure. Pressure sharpens you. Pain teaches you. Struggle builds the version of you that can handle more. Every champion you admire went through hell quietly. They didn't complain. They didn't post excuses. They worked when it was boring, when it hurt, when nobody was watching. Stop asking for motivation. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. Discipline is waking up when you don't feel like it. Discipline is training when you're tired. Discipline is saying no to short-term pleasure for long-term dominance. Read Can't Hurt Me, and you'll understand this simple truth. The mind quits long before the body ever does. You don't need to be lucky. You need to be relentless. You don't need perfect conditions. You need consistent effort. Winning is a decision you make every morning when the alarm goes off. Winning is choosing growth over comfort, action over talk, standards over excuses. So decide today. No more survival. No more just getting by. Raise your standards. Demand more from yourself. Build your body. Sharpen your mind. Increase your value. Life rewards strength, clarity, and courage. This is your moment. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Right now. It's time to stop surviving. It's time to start winning. Survival mode is a dangerous place to live because it slowly convinces you that barely making it is normal. When you are surviving, your goals shrink. Your thinking becomes short-term. You stop asking how great life could be and start asking how to get through the week. Survival tells you to play it safe, to avoid risk, to hold on to what little you have instead of building something bigger. It keeps you busy but never fulfilled, exhausted but never proud. Many people confuse survival with responsibility, but responsibility without ambition is just a cage you build for yourself. Winning is different. Winning begins the moment you stop reacting and start deciding. When you are winning, you don't just respond to problems, you prepare for them. You don't wait for opportunities, you create them. Survival says, I hope nothing goes wrong. Winning says, I'm ready for whatever comes. That shift is not about money or status, it's about mindset. A person in survival mode thinks like a victim of circumstances. A person who is winning thinks like an owner of outcomes. Look at how survival affects your daily behavior. You wake up already tired because you hate what you're building. You work only for the paycheck, not the progress. You avoid discomfort because discomfort feels risky when you have nothing saved inside you. Over time, this creates fear. Fear of change, fear of failure, fear of standing out. Books like Mindset explain that growth only happens when you step beyond what feels safe. But survival teaches you to stay small, quiet, and invisible. Winning requires intention. It requires you to ask hard questions about your life. Why am I doing this job? Why do I accept this routine? Why do I keep repeating habits that give me the same results every year? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are powerful. Survival avoids questions. Winning demands answers. When you choose to win, you stop numbing yourself with distractions and start facing reality with discipline. Survival also lies to you about time. It tells you that you'll fix things later, that someday you'll focus on your body, your skills, your finances, your mindset. Winning understands that later is an illusion. Later never arrives unless you act now. The people who win didn't suddenly wake up successful. They stacked hard days on top of each other while everyone else waited for motivation. To move from survival to winning, you must raise your standards. What you tolerate defines your life. If you tolerate laziness, chaos, weak thinking, and excuses, that is exactly what your future will be built on. Winning starts when you decide that average is no longer acceptable. Lay in that effort is no longer optional. When you stop asking how to survive this life and start asking how to dominate it with purpose, discipline, and relentless action, comfort feels good, but comfort is the quiet killer of potential. It doesn't attack you loudly, it slowly puts you to sleep. It convinces you that what you're doing is good enough, that you've worked hard today, that you deserve rest before you've earned results. Comfort wraps itself in excuses that sound reasonable. You're tired, you'll start tomorrow, you'll push harder next week, and while you're comfortable, life passes, opportunities close, and the gap between who you are and who you could be keeps growing. The problem with comfort is that it removes urgency. When there is no urgency, there is no growth. Pressure forces adaptation, but comfort keeps you the same. Think about it. Every meaningful improvement in your life came from discomfort. You got stronger because training hurt. You learned because confusion was uncomfortable. You matured because pain forced reflection. Yet the moment things stabilize, most people run straight back to ease, forgetting that ease never built anything powerful. Discipline is the opposite of comfort. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't negotiate with your mood. Discipline is showing up when motivation disappears. It is doing the boring work repeatedly, even when nobody claps, even when results are slow. Books like The War of Art make it clear that resistance shows up strongest right before growth, and discipline is the only thing that breaks through it. Comfort tells you to consume. Discipline tells you to create. Comfort says scroll. Discipline says build. Comfort says relax because you've done enough. Discipline says you can do more. This is why disciplined people pull ahead quietly while comfortable people stay stuck loudly complaining. Discipline compounds. One disciplined day seems small. 100 disciplined days change your identity. Most people say they want success, but what they really want is success without sacrifice. That doesn't exist. Comfort and winning cannot live in the same house. One must go. You either choose the temporary pain of discipline or the permanent pain of regret. There is no third option. Avoiding discomfort doesn't remove pain. It delays it and multiplies it. Discipline also creates confidence. Not fake confidence from words, but real confidence from proof. When you keep promises to yourself, you begin to trust yourself. When you train even when it's hard, work even when it's boring, and improve even when it's slow, you become dangerous in the best way. You stop needing validation because your results speak for you. Comfort will always be available. It's everywhere. Discipline must be chosen daily. It's a decision you make when the alarm rings, when excuses appear, when quitting feels justified. And every time you choose discipline, you take one step away from survival and one step toward control. The people who win are not more talented, luckier, or smarter. They are simply more disciplined for longer. And that is why comfort keeps many trapped, while discipline builds the few who rise. Because the moment you stop choosing ease and start choosing effort is the moment your life begins to change. Your future is not decided by what you want, it is decided by what you do repeatedly. Dreams are free, but habits are expensive because they cost effort every single day. Most people talk about goals, but they live by routines. They say they want more money, more strength, more respect, yet their daily actions produce the exact opposite. The truth is simple and uncomfortable. Your habits are voting for your future, and right now they are either voting for winning or voting for staying S. Tuck. Habits don't look powerful in the moment. Waking up early one day doesn't change your life. Training once doesn't transform your body. Working hard for a single week doesn't build wealth. That's why people underestimate habits. But repetition is ruthless. Whatever you do daily becomes who you are. If you waste time daily, you become a waster of potential. If you push yourself daily, you become someone who can't be stopped. Books like Atomic Habits explain that identity follows behavior, not the other way around. You don't rise and then act like a winner. You act like a winner until rising becomes inevitable. Bad habits feel harmless because their consequences are delayed. Skipping discipline today doesn't hurt immediately. Choosing comfort tonight doesn't destroy you instantly, but time keeps score. Small bad habits stack quietly, and one day you wake up behind, frustrated, and confused about how you got there. The answer is always the same. You built this life one choice at a time. The same rule applies to success. Winning is not one big move. It's thousands of small, correct decisions made when no one is watching. Your habits also shape your mindset. If you constantly avoid difficulty, your mind becomes weak. If you constantly chase distraction, your focus disappears. If you constantly quit when things get hard, quitting becomes your identity. On the other hand, habits of discipline train your mind to stay calm under pressure. Habits of effort teach you that discomfort is survivable. Habits of consistency turn fear into fuel. This is why two people with the same talent end up in completely different places. One had habits, the other had excuses. You don't need motivation to change your habits. Motivation fades, systems stay. If you rely on feeling inspired, you will fail. If you rely on structure, you will win. Set rules for yourself. Train even when you don't. Feel like it. Work before you relax. Improve before you consume. These rules remove decision fatigue and replace it with momentum. The strongest people are not the ones with the biggest dreams. They are the ones with the strictest standards for their daily behavior. They understand that habits are not just actions. They are commitments to a future version of themselves. And when you finally realize that every habit is a brick and your life is the building, you stop asking why success feels far away and start building it deliberately, one disciplined day at a time. The moment you blame something outside yourself, you give away your power. It feels good for a second because excuses protect your ego, but they destroy your future. Blaming the economy, your past, your family, your boss, the system, or bad luck might explain where you are, but it will never move you forward. Responsibility is heavy. And that's exactly why it makes you strong. When you accept that your life is your fault, you also accept that your life is your choice. Most people misunderstand responsibility. They think it means guilt or shame, like beating yourself up for mistakes. That's weakness. Real responsibility is clarity. It's saying, this is where I am, and I own it. From that point on, every problem becomes solvable. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting, you stop hoping, you stop negotiating with reality. You start acting. Excuses are seductive because they sound logical. You didn't have the right connections. You didn't get the right opportunities. You started late. You had setbacks. All of that might be true, but none of it changes the rules of the game. Life doesn't reward fairness, it rewards effectiveness. History is full of people who started with less, suffered more, and still built dominance because they refused to outsource responsibility. Books like Extreme Ownership make this brutally clear. Leaders win by owning everything, even the things that aren't technically their fault. When you make excuses, you train your mind to stay weak. Every excuse reinforces the idea that you are powerless. Over time, that becomes your identity. You stop seeing options, you stop taking risks, you lower your standards so you don't have to confront your potential. Responsibility does the opposite. It forces you to rise. It forces you to learn skills, build discipline, and adapt under pressure. Responsibility also removes fear. When you know that outcomes depend on you, fear turns into focus. You stop worrying about what others are doing and start improving what you control. Your habits, your effort, your preparation, your attitude. This is where real confidence comes from. Not from talking, not from pretending, but from knowing that you can handle whatever comes because you've taken ownership of your life. People who win don't have easier lives. They have harder standards. They don't say it's not my fault. They say, what can I do better? That question alone separates leaders from victims. Victims search for reasons. Leaders search for solutions. Victims complain. Leaders adjust. Victims wait. Leaders move. The world respects P. People who take responsibility because responsibility signals strength. It tells others you are reliable, dangerous in your competence, and serious about results. The more responsibility you take, the more control you gain. The less responsibility you take, the more trapped you become. You don't need permission to take responsibility. You don't need approval. You just decide. From this moment forward, your life is yours to own, yours to build, and yours to defend, because the second you stop making excuses and start taking full responsibility is the second you stop surviving and step into real power. Pain, pressure, and struggle are not signs that something is wrong with your life. They are signs that your life is asking more from you. Most people run from pain because they believe comfort means safety, but comfort never made anyone strong. Pain is a signal. Pressure is a test. Struggle is training. When you understand this, everything changes. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to build in me? Every version of growth you admire was forged under pressure. Muscles grow by tearing and rebuilding. Skill grows by repeated failure and correction. Character grows when life puts weight on your shoulders and you refuse to drop it. Books like Man's Search for Meaning show that suffering itself is not what breaks people. Meaninglessness does. When pain has a purpose, it becomes fuel instead of a burden. The problem is not pain. The problem is resistance to pain. When you fight discomfort emotionally, you double it. When you accept it and move forward anyway, pain loses its power. Pressure reveals who you really are. It strips away excuses, comfort stories, and fake confidence. Under pressure, you see your true habits, your true discipline, your true mindset. That's why most people avoid it. They don't want to see the truth above you themselves. Struggle also sharpens focus. Easy times create distraction. Hard times demand clarity. When life gets difficult, you stop wasting energy on nonsense. You prioritize. You simplify. You become efficient. This is why some people rise during chaos, while others collapse. The ones who rise don't panic. They adapt. They treat struggle like a classroom instead of a courtroom. Pain also builds resilience, and resilience is priceless. A person who has survived difficulty without quitting cannot be easily shaken. They don't fear setbacks because they've already faced worse. They don't crumble under criticism because they've been tested by reality. This is real confidence, not the loud kind, but the quiet certainty that no matter what happens, you'll find a way through. Pressure separates wishers from winners. Anyone can talk when life is easy. Anyone can believe when results come quickly. But when progress is slow, when effort isn't rewarded immediately, when doubt creeps in, that's when real character is revealed. Most people quit here. Not because they can't continue, but because they misinterpret struggle as failure instead of refinement. If you remove struggle from your life, you remove growth, you remove strength, you remove depth. A life without pressure creates weak minds, fragile emotions, and shallow ambition. That's why people who avoid pain often feel empty. They haven't earned their confidence. They haven't been tested. Winning doesn't mean avoiding hardship. It means mastering yourself inside hardship. It means showing up when it's hard, staying disciplined when it's uncomfortable, and continuing when quitting feels justified. The struggle you're in right now is not blocking your progress. It is your progress. And the moment you stop seeing pain as an enemy and start using it as a tool is the moment you stop breaking under pressure and start becoming the kind of person who cannot be defeated. Winning never starts with luck, timing, or outside approval. It starts with a decision to raise your standards. Standards are the rules you live by when no one is watching. They decide what you accept, what you ignore, and what you walk away from. Most people don't fail because they aim too high. They fail because their standards are too low. They accept being tired, distracted, undisciplined, and inconsistent, then wonder why their life feels out of control. Raising your standards means deciding that certain behaviors are no longer allowed in your life. It means you no longer negotiate with laziness. It means excuses don't get a seat at the table. It means you don't wait until you feel like doing the work. You do the work because that is who you are now. This shift is powerful because identity always follows standards. When your standards rise, your behavior is forced to rise with them. Low standards keep you in cycles. You start strong, then drift. You make promises, then break them. Over time, you stop trusting yourself. High standards create structure. They remove decision-making. You already know what you do and what you don't do. You train, you work, you improve. Not because it's exciting, but because it's expected. Books like The Power of Habit show that when behavior becomes non-negotiable, results become inevitable. Raising standards is uncomfortable because it exposes gaps between who you are and who you claim to be. It forces honesty. You can't pretend anymore. You either meet the standard or you don't. But that discomfort is exactly what creates momentum. Once you start meeting higher expectations consistently, confidence grows naturally, not from words, but from proof. You see yourself doing hard things and your self-image changes. Standards also protect you. They protect your time from waste, your energy from Rama, your focus from distraction. When your standards are clear, you don't argue with temptation. You don't explain yourself. You simply act in alignment with the person you are becoming. This is how winners stay consistent while others burn out. They don't rely on emotion. They rely on rules. Most people wait for motivation to raise their standards. Winners raise their standards and motivation follows. The world responds differently to people who expect more from themselves. Opportunities show up because competence shows up. Respect grows because discipline is visible. Results improve because effort becomes consistent. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You need to choose one area and raise the standard today. How you wake up, how you train, how you work, how you speak to yourself. Small increases in standards create massive shifts over time. And once you've experienced what it feels like to live at a higher level, going back becomes impossible. The line between surviving and winning is not talent or intelligence, it is standards. And the moment you decide that average is no longer acceptable and that effort is now your baseline is the moment your life stops drifting and starts moving forward with clarity, power, and purpose. This is the moment where everything becomes simple. Not easy, but simple. You now know that survival is a choice, comfort is a trap, habits are destiny, responsibility is power, pain is a tool, and standards are the line that separates who you are from who you could be. Nothing magical has to happen next. No perfect timing, no permission. The only thing required is action backed by discipline, taken daily, without excuses. You don't rise when life gets easier. You rise when you decide to demand more from yourself than life demands from you. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop hoping someone notices your potential and stop settling for a life that barely challenges you. Because the day you commit to higher standards and relentless effort is the day survival ends and winning becomes your new normal.